Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Whether you're here in the Cayman Islands or listening overseas via the web. I'm your host, Orit Connor, also known as OC. You're listening to a brand new program on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. And the show is just only 2 weeks old. We are the new kid on the block, and we will be bringing you exciting programs on a daily basis. The show is For the Record on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It starts at 7:30 in the morning and goes until 9 a.m. For the Record is about you. It's about giving you the latest information on the important issues that affect you. I invite you to call me with anything that's on your mind. This morning we have no guests in our studio, so I will be talking quite a bit. I'm also looking forward to interesting calls from you. I will be throwing some provocative things out there for you to discuss. And like I said, I invite you to join me in the conversation. This morning, I want to particularly concentrate on a group that I have frequently referred to in my closing remarks on For the Record. That group is the more or most vulnerable in our society, not elsewhere, right here in the Cayman Islands, those who are most vulnerable. We want to discuss them this morning. We want to discuss them, whether they are the children who go to school without having breakfast, whether they are children who do not have money for lunch because their parent or parents cannot afford to give them money, whether they are the families who have had their water or electricity turned off. We want to talk about the most vulnerable, whether they are the families who will have their homes demolished in West Bay and will have to be housed somewhere else while the homes are being rebuilt. We want to discuss those, whether they are families where there are no breadwinners in the household and they have to rely on government assistance. We want to discuss those, whether there are persons about to graduate from high school and are not going on to college and do not know what the future holds as far as a job is concerned. Those are some of the vulnerable in our society. There are many more, some more obvious than others, but we want to discuss them. We want to make them the subject of discussion this morning. You can call me on 1-800-534-8255, or you can email For the Record, one word, For the Record, at Candywaka, CANDW.KY. The number that I gave you, 1-800-534-8255, is a toll-free number. and there's always someone standing by to take your call. As I said earlier, there are no guests in our studio this morning, so I will be doing a lot of the talking. I'm hoping to get calls from you so that you can generate the conversation and we can keep it interesting. We need, like I said before, to look at those in our society who are most at risk. And those risks can be numerous. They can be health risks. They can be financial risks. We want to discuss them. We may not necessarily call names, but I will also be discussing and calling the names of various organizations in the Cayman Islands who contribute to helping those who are most in need. Here in the Cayman Islands, there are many individuals and organizations that seek to address some of the issues that the most vulnerable in our society are facing. There are religious or church-based organizations that assist their members and also reach out to the wider community. There are also individuals like Jan Thompson, for instance, who assist those who need water. There are organizations like Feed Our Future, whose mission is simple: to provide children in need of school meals. We have Cayman Hospice Care, which states on their website that they are the leading community resource in the areas of death, dying, and grief. They are dedicated to providing dignified, quality, comfort care, free of charge, to anyone in the Cayman Islands living with cancer or other end-stage diseases. They are committed to enhancing and improving the lives of all those affected by death and to assuring long-term emotional, spiritual, and general well-being to survivors after loss. And of course, we have seen the extraordinary effort by Mr. Derek Haynes to raise funds for the organization Cayman Hospice Care. I'm told by our producer, Susan, that we have one call online, so I'm going to open up the phone lines right away. Like I said, we have no guests, so we can converse this morning. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record. Go right ahead.
Good morning, OC. This is Jan. How are you?
Morning, Jan. I'm fine. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
How did things go on Saturday?
It went very well. I gave them your number, and they were very concerned and said they're going to give you they're going to give you a call, some of those people. OC, you're hitting some very good topics there this morning, and my most one is the children having lunch and breakfast and so forth. I have 2 more weeks of water this coming Saturday and the following Saturday, and I will be discontinuing the water drive. So I'm hoping that someone comes along and pick it up and continue it.
Yes, Jan. I think you work very closely with kids in the schools as well, as far as on the school bus is concerned. Do you have any real life stories, without calling names, that you can relate to me and to our listeners in terms of some of the challenges that those young folks face?
Well, there's so much stuff that is unbelievable. Well, the main thing is, they're hungry, and some of them might have had a government lunch voucher there, and it's not sufficient. Some of them will end up getting breakfast off of that, or they'll save it for lunch, and it's just not sufficient. I'm not sure how much money it is that it is $6 or $7 or $5. I'm not even sure, but it's not really cutting the mustard with this social service voucher for whatever kids that's on it. I don't have any proof who are on it, but it's not cutting the mustard. And we'll see. Like I said some weeks ago to another station that the government should just start to charge a small school fee for the kids to come into school, but give the kids breakfast, lunch, and a snack to keep them going, because if they don't have a full belly, they can't focus in school about education. They can't focus. You know, they really can't focus, and I really think that our kids need more attention when it comes to going to school, when it comes to lunch, and their parents, and good rest, and to be able to study. That some don't have any likes and all that kind of stuff, and losing their homes and all that kind of stuff, and it bears on the kids as well too. The kids are suffering just as much as the parents are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jan, also, I think you may have mentioned at one point, not this morning, that many of the persons whom you assist with water are located in the district of West Bay. Those disconnections, if they are disconnected people, does that have anything to do with the fact that the Water Authority, Cayman, does not actually supply water to West Bay, and that is done by another company, which is either private or publicly traded company?
I don't know how to answer that. I really don't know. Some people told me that they have the other water company and their water is off, and some even tell me they have a very high bill sitting there for some time. So I really can't say I really can't give full much detail on that word for word. I'll be lying to you, so I don't want to really say something I don't have no full proof of.
Okay, that's fair enough. And hopefully if someone from either Cayman Water Company or Water Authority Cayman, which is a government-owned entity, even though it's a statutory authority, if anyone is listening, it would be useful for them to call in and explain what their policies are in relation to disconnecting customers. Do they do any sort of background checks first to determine whether or not there is anyone in that household who may be susceptible to some sort of health risk if their water is turned off? I believe that the power companies in many jurisdictions have to ensure that there's no one, for instance, who's using a breathing apparatus that requires electricity or what before they can actually turn off such an essential service. So it would be interesting to hear from either Cayman Water Company or Water Authority Cayman if anyone is listening. Anything else you want to say, Jan?
That's really, I just like what you said. I agree that 100%. Yeah, I agree with that. Yes. I just wants to know why is it that our government is part of the water company here, and it's the majority of Caymanians who doesn't have this water in their homes running right now. That's what I can't understand, because if government is part of that, I mean, the fire trucks has big water tanks on them. They can go into the neighborhoods and pump water into certain things for these people that still need water, and they can, we call it slot water. They can wash with and all that kind of stuff, and then they buy the drinking water from the stores to drink, for now, I would say. And also, I really truly believe that I understand. I went looking for these big drums, but A.L. Thompson don't carry them. I understand it's Kirk who carry them. And we always say government, but I don't know who else needs to call at this present time. I think someone need to go and check those drums out there at Kirk's Home Center and see who's in most need of a drum right now in this rainy season, and get a couple of those drums out there and hook them up to gatherings to these private homes and get some water running that they can use around the house, and then, buy the drinking water if that's the case.
And of course, Jan, hurricane season is with us now at this point in time also, so we need to have somewhere where to store water Well,
I really
Jan,
appreciate.
sorry, go ahead.
I really appreciate Flowers Bottled Water. They has been a tremendous help to me and the people, and they appreciate it. And Foster's has came aboard, and they are more than appreciated. And all of the other donors that gave names to be called and not names to be called. So I really appreciate all those guys coming aboard. But like I said, this coming Saturday I will be there, rain or sunshine, like I was there this Saturday gone. And in the following Saturday I'll be there. And after that, then I'm gonna I'm hoping that someone will come along and continue it, because I'm telling the people now that, this is my last 2 weeks and they're not very happy about it. But we'll see. I cannot carry it all by myself. It's a heavy load. I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I didn't expect it to go so well. And all of the donors to come aboard with, helping out with the water and the small donations here and there. And it needs help. And I already got my arm hurt from those 5 gallons and cases of water and so forth, which is a good hurt, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, we do need the figures though, in terms of those persons who are out there. We don't necessarily need names per se. We need to have some idea of how many people find themselves in this situation, number one, and then we need to be able to direct them to the proper government agency which should be able to assist them. And if there is no government agency there to assist them, then we need to create one to assist them. This is a special issue. It is an urgent issue, and we need to ensure that we put the proper mechanisms in place to address this issue. Just the same way that we have addressed other issues, we need to address this one.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, Jan, thanks for calling. Folks, we're going to be going to a news break in a few minutes. Just to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orit Connor, also known as OC. We're on 89.9 FM. The toll-free number for us is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call 949-8037 or 949-6990. We want to hear from you. If you're an individual, if you represent an organization that is giving assistance to people who are in need, we want to hear from you. Stay tuned to the dial. We'll be right back. Good morning and welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Orit Connor, also known as OC. We have no guest in our studio this morning, so we will be conversing with you, our listeners. We want to hear from you, and I'm told we have one caller on the line. Caller, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. Thank you, and congratulations on your show. This is the first time I've called in, but I've listened occasionally. What's the topic today?
Well, first of all, caller, thanks very much for that, and the show. Thanks for the congratulations. And just to point out, the show is not about me. It's not about Radio Cayman. It's about getting information out to the public, helping the public, and I know you're certainly aware of that because you're very involved in it. What we're discussing this morning is those who are more vulnerable in our society, those who are at risk in our society, and there are many. They come from various sectors of society. I'm looking at the headlines in the Compass this morning, and I'm seeing the fact that it's costing over $64,241 to house and feed prisoners. So, and they are vulnerable as well. But we're discussing those who are most at risk in our society.
Okay. Well, that's a big topic, because right now everyone is vulnerable, even if it's a big business owner or a regular working person. It's a special, especially economically, it's a special time now that they're sensitive. But I have a couple of thoughts on that topic, though.
Go right ahead, caller.
Yeah, it's, we both of us know Cayman's culture or history, where we came from, especially in the last 50 years. And what I think we're going through now is just the reality check or the culture shock of the modern world, because really the economy we had previously, since our big boom in the 70s, was really not the standard that the world lives in. That's why Cayman is still such a desired destination. But yeah, we've come too far, too fast, I think, and people have to be almost re-educated to understand the basic issues of life. I know it's not. I'm not talking specifically about the needs, but it's like if you're fighting a war, you can say what the needs of someone who's been wounded are, but the bigger picture is what caused the war and how can you stop it. And some basic things like economics, savings plan, future planning, some of those things need to be really instilled in our families and in our business people to let them realize what the bigger picture should be. I mean, for instance, that economics should be taught in a place like Cayman. That should be taught from primary school. Kids should know what debits and credits and balance sheets mean at least. And, family planning. There's so much, because our expectations have now exceeded the reality. And it's not so much about entitlement, it's what we have been led to believe. So, yeah, Cayman is, in many aspects, it is the promised land. Everyone in the world wants to come here. But, whether it's parenting issues or the merchant class, the churches, as you mentioned, we all have to get together and look at issues that relate to the cost of living, which is, of course, what causes the problems for those who are hurting right now. And the disparities are really unsustainable, and that is why we're beginning to crumble a bit now. But, with a bit of humanity, as the lady with the water, and a bit of sharing and a bit of give and take, we can succeed and thrive from it, I believe.
Yeah, caller, sometimes, some people say we can't go back, and some say we don't necessarily want to go back to the early days. But what we can do is we can continue to adopt some of those principles in terms of helping each other and develop that attitude that we want to help our fellow human being.
Exactly. And it's not so much about going back, because we don't want to go back, but we really need to understand where we came from. And for instance, issues such as service, where we were such a big service-oriented country, and these days that seems to be not so much of an appealing occupation. But there's pride in service, whether it's in a hotel or in government or wherever. Not everything will be, dropped into your lap. You have to work and you have to start somewhere, and work ethics. All of those things are not going back in time, but going back to the appreciation and the understanding of what life is really about,
I agree with you, caller. Any other observations that you may have in that regard?
Well, all I would add is that we all have life and breath and health, most of us. So even if we're unemployed, I think each of us, whether we're employed or unemployed or millionaires or students, we can all find some way to help someone, as you said earlier. And in so doing, in service and serving others, as I know in serving others, your own life benefits even much more usually than the people you're serving.
That is correct.
Helping others, helping your fellow man is what it's about.
Thanks very much, caller, for those observations. I recall in one of my political science classes in college many, many, many moons ago, there was always the impression that we had the haves and the have-nots. And then someone observed that we have the haves, we have the think they have, and the have-nots. And what we're finding in the Cayman Islands now is that not only don't the have-nots have nothing, but the think they have, or those who thought they had, are starting to realize now that they have less and less, and they are also facing the struggles. Folks, it's 8 o'clock. We have to break for the news, but stay tuned to Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. We have no guests, but I will be conversing with you. We have some important issues to discuss. Stay tuned. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Orit Connor. You're listening to Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. Toll-free number 1-800-534-8255, or email us at fortherecord@kandawaki.ky. There are no guests in our studio this morning, and I guess today they just don't want to be on the record. That's just a joke, folks. Just pulling everybody's legs. You know, they don't want to be on record, and when we get them on here, we certainly put them to task as well. We are discussing those who are most at risk in our society and the various efforts that are taking place to assist them. We have one caller on the line. Caller, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. Hope you're having a pleasant morning.
Good morning. You must have been reading our minds this morning. We were going to contact you. I got an email from one of my daybreaker cyclists this morning, Mr. Ada Powell. Actually,
Yes.
it was a BBM message this morning advising us that the hospital is still in need of people with O positive blood.
Yes, it is. And definitely that is what I'll be talking a little with you about this morning. From the Cayman Blood Donor Service, which works along with the blood bank to get the message out to recruit new donors and to celebrate the triumphs that occur when people give blood and save lives, and to increase our pool, especially our next generation donors and our young people. And also to celebrate World Blood Donor Day, which is usually on the 14th of June each year, which is going to be on Saturday this year. Yes, we do need O positive blood, and it's critical for people who need. We get the message out timely. Radio Cayman has been exceptional a partner in delivering those messages. At the moment, we do need O positive, so if you do have O positive, it'd be good of you to come by and become a donor, which requires you to fill out a form and answer some questions, and then a test will be taken. Very painless in comparison to what you'll be doing. It's a small prick. We're such a small community, and the people's lives we are part of the apparatus to save are our next door neighbors, our relatives, those who live right beside us and work beside us. And sometimes the key is you or me.
And Mr. Brown, what are the consequences if we don't have sufficient blood supply at the hospital?
The consequences are we do exert. Our blood bank is one of the best run in the region, in the Western Hemisphere. We will go out and we will shop to buy. Blood is a commodity, almost like a stock market item. There is great demand by the hour. So we will go on the U.S. open market to seek from our sources that have and provide a steady supply of blood. At any one time, the cost differential can go between $500 to $1,000 for a pint of blood. For the last 5 to 6 years, it may be a little longer, we've not had to go on the open market to buy, because our donor pool has really been very beneficial to the community and stepped up to the plate in terms of giving. However, we know we always have to keep our lines open just in case. We're a small country. Big things can happen. and we will be challenged. But we have our lines of enabling us to get that life-saving item to save that person.
And because we're into hurricane season now, are there additional contingencies that are put in place
Yes,
during
there
hurricane
are.
season?
Yes, they are. We step up our reacquaintance with our donors to see who has left. Um, we we make sure that we are on tap to, especially those who have very difficult to get blood or the rare blood type, and we we make sure that our mechanisms in terms of our emergency um, operations that are coordinated with the HSA are in full force. So, in case we have a lockdown, we have a category 4, and we have electricity challenges, we do make sure that our machines are still functional, that we can keep what supply we have on tap. And our overseas associates, in terms of those who work along with us in the Caribbean community, with CARIC and with PAHO and Pan American Health Organization, which is connected to World Health, and our blood bank affiliates in the U.S. are all in tune with what we need, especially during this critical time. Now, our population has grown a little, and also the fact that we have new hospital services in the form of the new Shetty Hospital, which will be and have been performing important cardio and other cases which demand more blood. We are the suppliers, and as such, there's going to be a little more demand on our services. It is also very important for us to acknowledge that we have a great deal of very kind-hearted people who have been giving for years. There are people in our community who have been responsible for saving over 200 lives. And those people are indispensable to us. We are trying to recruit next generation blood donors by developing an education program for youngsters to be sensitive and sensitized to the fact that they have something that somebody else needs. It's not difficult for them to contribute to making it happen in terms of giving a pint that could save up to 3 lives. And it is not difficult. The discomfort is minimal. And after you have given a couple of times, you realize that there is no discomfort. The joy of giving overcomes the inconvenience of having to go give and the inconvenience of the time that you spend to give.
Good point, caller.
That is part of our joy.
Good point, caller. And not wanting to put you on the spot, but do you have any idea of the percentage of our young people that are now involved in blood donors?
I cannot give you that figure right off. I can tell you that our youth program, which Radio Cayman has been the great facilitator of, Youth Flex, which is run by Mr. James Miles, who is also part and parcel of Cayman Blood Donor Services, have been very active in messaging to their kind, to that particular market segment, to those who are from 16 up to 18, 20. Of course, our giving usually begins at 18. In other countries, it is 15, but we start with the legal age of 18. They have been messaging through advertisements and discussions amongst themselves about blood donorship. I know of about 30 youngsters who do give and who have started to give over the last 4 years. My reckoning is that we have probably about 100 next generation donors who have come from that segment, who we have been trying to get into the program from They were about 15 years old in terms of sensitizing them. From the moment they were on Youth Flex radio show talking about blood donorship and developing advertising advertisements specifically to that age group. A number of years ago, we had the privilege of speaking from from PAHO in Washington D.C. at the UN, and we had a young lady who was part of Miss USA pageant, Miss North Dakota. Can't remember her name, but she was one of the first people to have blood donorship as her platform, and we were able to get her to speak directly to Radio Cayman on Youth Flex. At the time, it was our then Premier, Minister Tibbetts, who was in the studios talking to these youngsters. So we know that our message is working, and I will be able to ascertain that particular segment to you at a later date. But
Okay.
I'd like also to, before I leave you, to let you know that World Blood Donor Day is on the 14th. That's this Saturday. It will be, the theme is giving blood to save mothers, and it is quite apt. We're a very maternal country. Women have significantly contributed to who we are, where we are at, and our successes. And women underpin the success of our country. And women give birth to our next generation voters and our next generation citizens. And as such, they're a critical part of who we are. The act of childbirth is always fraught with some risk, even though modern science has done tremendously well. But delivery and management of growing a new one has risks, which inevitably calls for supplying of blood. In fact, I think during this week we're going to be having a lady who had the privilege of having blood given to save her life. She's going to be speaking on Talk Today on Friday, the 13th, to let people know how critical it is, and the fact that she's alive today, her child is alive, because somebody or somebodies, many people gave blood.
Okay, Carl, if you can leave us on that note, and thanks again for being our impromptu guest this morning by telephone. Folks, you have heard the call for blood donation. If you are a donor, please heed the call. If you are not, you should seriously consider donating blood to the Cayman Islands Hospital. I'm told that we have several callers lined up, so we'll take the next caller. Caller, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Hyde. Yeah, I into a situation where that I tried to get to my MLAs over a month now, right? And nobody is responding to Mr. Hyde's situation, right? And it's very, very ridiculous to know that I've been doing the taxi business for over 30-odd years. And after Mr. Bush issued my license in 2011, 2012, right? I can't find out this problem with these people that dealing with these license, right? And the thing is, they want to revoke my license for what? Just complaints for what people as taxi drivers send in to Transportation Board about Mr. Hyde, and they want to take away my job. Come on. That is not fair. We looking jobs, and yet still they is taking away jobs that Caymanians that have a job, and they've taken it away from them.
Caller, I believe that your story may have been highlighted in one of the newspapers, one of the local newspapers, if I'm correct. But can you tell us whether or not you have been able to have your side of the story heard? Have you been formally before a hearing for this thing to be judged?
Sir?
Have you had any form of a hearing with a commission or anything? Have you been in front of anyone to be able to defend your position?
Yes, I been to quite a people already.
No,
right?
but I'm talking
And-
about something like not a court, but I do know that before administratively, before any decision is made, especially in regard to complaints, that you should be advised of the nature of those complaints, maybe not necessarily who the complainants are, but at least the nature of the complaint, and then you also are given the opportunity to respond to those complaints. Have you been given that opportunity to do that in front of officials?
No, I tried to get, cross my MLAs and stuff, and they told me that they will get back to me.
No, I'm talking about the body, the commission that regulates taxi drivers.
Well, I've been to the complaint commissioner, but I not really get to sit down with him as yet and talk. You know, I've been to quite a few lawyers as well, right?
And the advice that you've gotten from them?
Yeah, they actually, I do have a case, right? I do have a case. So come on now. I'm hurting. I'm out of job. I'm out of job. And then the election, the MLAs were saying, any jobs Caymanians would be the first preference. Well, how Caymanians become first preference when they taking away jobs from the Caymanians that is the grassroots? Come on.
Okay, in your
what this is all about? Come on. I mean, this is why crime cannot stop. You know, how can you take away a man earnings and issue 30 other taxi license just through complaints from 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014 after they sent me to a Pride program. I went to this Pride program. I did everything that I had to do to send in to my renewal of my license. And now when they get my renewal, they accept my application, and then they come and give me a letter saying, "Oh, Mr. Hyde, that tax license revoked." And I went to everybody, and nobody responded to me. That is why I had to put it went to the compass. And this way the compass says a veteran tax license revoked. Come on now, man. Come
Okay,
on. What kind of thing is going on? I need my job. I need my job, man. I don't have a job, right? I went on several campaign cleanup, you know.
Caller, we have some other callers queued up. We understand your situation, and I think you should really look to see what you can do from a legal standpoint through the courts. But we have other callers queued up. We'd love to talk to you a bit longer, but we have to be conscious of them waiting as well. Thanks for your call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Oricona.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay. I heard you speaking of donating blood.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yes. Well, studies have shown that people who donate blood, it has shown that by donating blood, it keeps your heart healthy. So that's something good for people to know, that by donating blood, it keeps your heart healthy. So that's a good way of encouraging people to donate blood. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we want to encourage people. We see other jurisdictions where people actually sell their blood, and thankfully here in the Cayman Islands we haven't reached that stage yet, that we actually have people who have a social conscience and who will donate blood for free, and we're extremely thankful for that as well. Susan, do we have any other callers online? We have no callers at this point in time. I want to read you a quote from the late Princess Diana, and she's quoted as saying, "Nothing brings me more happiness than trying to help the most vulnerable people in society. It is a goal and an essential part of my life, a kind of destiny. Whoever is in distress can call on me. I will come running wherever they are." That is a very strong statement from a lady who committed herself to helping the poor, to reducing the stigma on people with AIDS, children with AIDS. And we do have, like I said earlier, organizations in the Cayman Islands who are there to help, who have been helping. Many remain in the background while they do assist, and that there are others who are in the forefront of the drive to assist persons who are more vulnerable and at risk in our society. Folks, you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orrit Connor, also known as OC. Our toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also reach us on 949-8037 or 949-6990. We have no guests in our studio this morning, so I'm doing a lot of the talking, but we've also received some very interesting calls from you, our listening audience. We briefly discussed with Mr. Carl Brown blood donation. We have spoken about the various organizations that assist those at risk here in Cayman. We've spoken about Cayman Hospice Care. We've spoken about Jan Thompson, who's taken up the individual task of assisting people who need water. We've also talked about the organization Feed Our Future, whose mission is simple: to provide children in need of school meals. We know that we're getting into the summer season. School break will soon be upon us. What is being done out there for those children who will be home from school? Those children who don't have a nanny or a helper to be at home with them. They're at risk. They need to be taken care of. What is the government doing about that? Are there programs in place to assist them? If there are private individuals or private organizations who have programs in place, but there is a cost, what is the government doing to subsidize those who need the financial assistance to get their kids into these summer programs? We have two callers on the line. We're going to take those callers now. Caller, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, sir.
It's open-minded, you said.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Just two things quickly. It is so very important. I know people always hear me talking about my view that we cannot continue to run the country. And I'm very, very strong in my opinion of this. without some form of direct income tax. I've looked at it from every angle. I'm not an economist, I'm not an accountant, but I know a little bit about mathematics, and it doesn't add up. We must, as I speak, as soon as possible, institute some form of direct. It is at the core direct income tax of every problem. If you really look at it from a holistic sort of view, you see that that is where things just won't add up. It is nothing to hold any of the very wealthy people here, and even those not so wealthy, anyone, in any form of serious accountability without some form of direct taxation. Because it means that you are accountable for the source of your income, whether you have a business, and it must be made government knowledge. What? Because you can have people, as you see with the pension system, what we call a pension, I've never called it that. I'm over 60, so it doesn't apply to me. I'm over it. But where persons are required to report up to $60,000 and pay their 5% on that. And then, or the employer, if they're self-employed, they'll be paying 10%, I imagine. And then, if they're earning $500,000, then the rest of it goes untouched. But the little guy earning $20,000 or $15,000 a year is the complete 10% or 5% of his first must be reported, which is unfair. It can't be called anything but unfair. And the money's owed to the government, and monies that should be collected to the government and in supporting many things, it can't be collected because you don't know. You can only make guesstimates. At very best, even with a taxation system, direct taxes, sometimes, but at least you have a much better idea when there is a law and a requirement that if you have a Porsche and a Benz and a $4 million house, that you can't be earning only $50,000 or $40,000 a year. I mean, common sense to tell you that, but there's nothing to tell that individual where he can't be earning that $40,000 or $60,000 a year and be living that lifestyle where a type of direct taxation system will require the proof to the government how you do it. And that goes round many businesses and so forth, controls over what they do and how they sell their goods and the price they sell it at must come under that type of regulation.
Caller, question before we wrap you up. I have a question for you. How do we get people in the Cayman Islands to accept the idea of direct taxation? I mean, we're having difficulties now in terms of introducing other legislation that seem to be less onerous and less burdensome on the people. We've heard some of our MLAs complain about the fact that no provisions are being made for one person, one vote in the next election. How do we get people to accept direct taxation?
Well, anything takes courage on the part of our elected representatives. I don't think that they need to ask the mother country to introduce direct taxation. I'm sure you know a lot better than I do that they have long insisted on that. So therefore, it removes that stumbling block that they might throw in the way. All they have to do is say yes.
But they have to deal with the voters here.
Go around in meetings with the voters and show them that it can be much less onerous for them to be paying a direct salary tax. That's what they do in Bermuda. To make my man, that's the perfect model because it doesn't run away investors. They have a lot of investors. They're in the same business that we are in. We all know that. They manufacture very little, just like we do. We could never depend on excise tax for manufacturing here.
Okay, caller, that's a good point to leave us. If we have some time, we welcome you to call back, but we're going to want to take another caller at this point in time, and then we have to go to commercial break as well. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning. I'm calling. I must say that the call this morning, and also congratulations. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you very much.
I enjoyed it. It's refreshing. And to say that, we do have so many worthy causes in Cayman, and I think as a community that each person has talent. We have time. Some people have money that they can give, but we all can work together to make our community a better place and to continue to strive. There is many needs in our community, and we know that the government can't do everything. So we as individuals can all, share our talent and our time to help others live a better life.
Exactly. Even if it's just your next door neighbor that you're assisting, just assisting one individual or several goes a long way.
That's correct. And you gave a quote from my favorite person. I mean, I have late Lady Diana and Mother Teresa and Mahatma Gandhi. Their lives were just living examples that all of us, could have them as our role models here in the Cayman Islands and around the world. I mean, what they lived and did is just phenomenal. But like I said, we all can just chip in and do our part to make Cayman a better place for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much, caller, for those observations, and I would impress upon everyone to heed those words that you just put out to us. Folks, you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orit Connor, also known as OC. We're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to start to wrap up. I have a few more things to talk about. Want to talk about our obligations under our new Constitution and our Bill of Rights that tells us that we have to protect certain at-risk people in our society. Stay tuned to 89.9 FM. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Orit Connor. When I left you for the commercial break, I spoke to you about the fact that I would be mentioning our Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009, specifically our Bill of Rights, and Section 17, and I will read it very quickly for you. In addition to the provisions of this part, which afford protection to children, the legislature shall enact laws to provide every child and young person under the age of 18, referred to in this section as child, with such facilities as would aid their growth and development, and to ensure that every child has the right, A, to a name from birth, B, to family care or parental care, or to appropriate alternative care when removed from the family environment, C, to basic nutrition, shelter, basic health care services, and social services, D, to be protected from maltreatment, neglect, abuse, or degradation, to be protected from exploitative labor practices, not to be required or permitted to perform work or provide services that are inappropriate for a child of that age, or place at risk the child's well-being, education, physical or mental or spiritual, moral, or social development. That is our Bill of Rights, and this Bill of Rights is applicable to the Cayman Islands government. It does not extend, unfortunately, yet to the private sector, but our government is required to provide these protections and basic services to or communities, specifically our children who are the most at risk in our society. We talk about them being our future. What future can we have if we don't take care of the children who we say are our future? We will be relegated to no future at all. I'm told we have 2 callers on the line and we have 6 minutes to go on the show. I may not get my wrap up today, but we're going to take the callers. Callers, we're going to ask you to be extremely brief and to the point. First caller, welcome to For the Record. Go right ahead.
Yes, good morning again, Mr. Dorsey. Very briefly, you were talking about the income tax, how you're going to convince the people. When they see the hospitals, you have to start turning people away because of lack of funds for staff, lack of funds for drugs, treatment, for different things, then people will start to get convinced. The other thing is this. You don't want it to reach that stage, of course, because there are other government agencies which won't have the funds to do anything. It is time we take a serious look at the gambling law. The gambling law, and allow the government to stop this hypocrisy and say raffle tickets are gambling. And it's a lot of money, considerable amount goes to charities and all that. But so it's other form of gambling. People can give it to whoever they want to do. But it's time to look at it and let the government earn some good taxes off of it. Thank you very much. Have an excellent day. You said the mouthful a while ago with what you're just saying.
Thank you very much, sir. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, this is John again. What? Hello?
Go right ahead, John. Go.
Yeah, what you just read there, I tell you that's a mouthful. And that needs to be implemented into our schools immediately and the homes for our children. This is our future. We cry about the plane loads coming here to work, and we're not even looking about our own children, our future. I beg whoever today, the government, private sectors, whoever, please let's try to help the children more than we are. Give them food to eat. Give them proper shelter, proper lighting. Give them everything that they so need to take them through till they get to the age that they can fight for themselves in our oxygen in this world. And I just beg today that someone will reach out and let's do some more for our children of this Cayman Island, because we are losing our children rapidly. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Jan. Thanks very much. Folks, we have 3 minutes to go. I'm going to do my little speech now for you. You know what my closing remarks usually are in relation to being our brother's keeper and protecting the most needy, the most vulnerable, and those at risk in our society. But I also would like to leave you with this question today. Do you believe that since the Cayman Islands are viewed as an affluent, extremely affluent society, that it would be an indictment for us if we were seen to not be taking care of those most vulnerable and in need in our society? I know that we did have an assessment of living conditions study done in the Cayman Islands, and we were not particularly happy with the results of that study and maybe also the nature in which it was conducted. But we need to know what it takes for the average person to live on in the Cayman Islands. We need to know how much they need to earn to be able to afford to live in the Cayman Islands. We need to know those who are at risk in the Cayman Islands as well. One of the organizations that I didn't mention this morning, or one of the not organizations, but groups that are pretty vulnerable in our society, are those persons, and we've heard about them earlier, those who are in the affordable homes in West Bay that are to be torn down and the government has committed to involving agencies, including the Department of Children and Family Services, in arriving at a solution. They have stated that no tenant will be displaced and that the government will make sure that no one will be left homeless through this process. Assessments, which are sort of evaluation of the site and each family's position, will be done, and all tenants are required to take part in this process. This was all outlined in a press statement released by the National Housing and Development Trust Chairman, Mr. Tony Powell, following a meeting on May 23rd of this year. The government has stated its position. I am sure you, the public, will hold the government to what they have said. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We're wrapping up. We've wrapped up on For the Record. I'm your host, Orrit Connor. We welcome you to join us on Wednesday morning at 7:30 when we will have the action man from the East, MLA Arden McLean, and the man from the North, Mr. Ezid Miller. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling in. Have a great day. Perform a random act of kindness today, please.